Hey y'all, it's Diane with Shawcraft One in my old barn door. Sorry, I'm trying to close my blinds so you don't get glare on the book. I know I had been promising that I would show you guys how to decoupage one of the ring binder journals. So I'm working on one for, it's a custom order for a customer. So I thought I'd just go ahead and show you how I do the process. So basically what I do, let me flip this over. You just take all the pages out. I love how yellowed the inside pages look on this. So I don't know. I may or may leave them like that, but I'm figuring I'll probably cover them. But anyways, take all your pages out because you want to make sure that you don't mess anything up that's in the book while you're doing this process. So then I flip it over and I'm going to take this, it's just a little piece of sanding paper. I got it at the dollar store. So, and I'm just going to sand the book. Now, the reason I'm doing this is to make sure that when I glue or Mod Podge on it, that, okay, I'm not going to make y'all watch that because it's probably really irritating noise. But you get the gist. You just want to sand down the whole book. That way, you get a little bit of a tooth for the Mod Podge to hang on to. So hang on just one second. I'm going to go ahead and finish sanding the book so you don't have to listen to it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so once I finish sanding, I just want to wipe everything down real good. Make sure you get all the dust off of your book or your cover. And then I'm going to move this, and I'm going to shake any dust off of my little wax paper here. I always put some wax paper down just so, I mean, you can do it directly on your mat, but I don't know. I have always used the wax paper. All right, so now I am going to take my homemade Mod Podge. It's in a minced garlic jar. Actually, I don't think this was minced garlic. It just has the minced garlic lid. But anyway, so I'm going to pull out my homemade Mod Podge. And then I have this little tub here that I have all kinds of stuff in, just little pieces to decoupage with. So I'm going to take some out, and then I also have, excuse me, this book is going to be like a vintage farm style book. So I have some of these books that I want to pull some pictures from and decoupage those on too. So let me just go through here. I don't really know if there's anything in this particular book that I'm going to use because it's not really farm. So I'll set that one to the side. But I do know that there's some really good farmyard pictures in this one, like the cows. I like the chickens, of course. I always like the chickens. Oh my goodness, look at the baby cow. We might have to put him in there. And then a colt. This one would be cute with all of the little barnyard animals. So I'll set these to the side until I kind of get the base of my decoupaging done. And then I may or may not use some pages from this book. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, now these are just some coffee dyed old book pages that I did a long time ago, and I always try and just kind of scan through and make sure there's no bad words or anything on it that you don't want on the front of your book. So I think that one's okay. So I pull things like old pattern, and I'll use the thicker paper from the pattern paper, and then I'll use the thinner from the pattern paper. So let me just see what else we have. Now see, I also have, these are just pieces from my Alice and Jerry book, and they're kind of cute to add in here too. So I may add some of these in here too, because I just always love the Alice and Jerry, and that'll be cute for farmhouse because it has the little ducks and the old little kettle and chair back there. So we might can use that. And then I do have some little bitty pages of old dictionary, which I want some more of the old dictionary. I'm just looking through here to see what I have. Okay, so see, I already have this little cow. That's kind of cute. I don't know. We'll decide which ones of the book pages that we're going to use. I'm looking for dictionary pages is what I'm looking for. But I'm not seeing any in here, so I may have to just pull some. Probably should have done this process before, but I thought everything was in here. Alright, and the rest of that is just like little pieces of coffee dyed paper. So I have some dictionary pages up here somewhere. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. So we'll use a variety of pages, like the sewing pattern pages, the real thin sewing patterns, dictionary pages. You can use map pages. You can use children's book pages. You can use old book pages. Just whatever it is that you find laying on your desk, pretty much, that you want to use. Now, I am going to try and find, I think I have some scraps of map pages, so let me look for them. Okay, I found the scrap map pages. So now what I'm going to do, now there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can cut these very neatly and make them little squares on here. Or you can just do like a collage Mod Podge of stuff on here, which is what I usually like to do. Every now and then I'll do it the other way. But for this one, I think we're just going to do the collage look. And I usually like to rip my pages. I don't particularly like the cut look. And sometimes I will ink the edges of all of my strips. But for this one, I'm not going to. So I'm just going to tear some of these out and make sure that they've got the good ripped edges. And then I'm just going to start gluing some stuff down. So I'm going to open my Mod Podge. Whoops. Get my little brush here. Now this brush is specifically for gluing and Mod Podging. So I'm just going to, just making sure you guys can see. I usually like to start on the edges, and I'll show you why. If I plan on covering the inside cover or covers, when I put down my paper on here, I'm going to let it overlap a little so that I can wrap it around to the other side. And that just gives a good edge coverage, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So like with this map, I'm not going to put it on the very edge of this page. I'm not going to line it up right here. I'm going to let it overlap on the page. Okay, and then I'll take a little old credit card or gift card or whatever you have on hand and just rub it down. Now I'm going to leave that sticking over the edge for now until I get my cover finished, and then I'll start wrapping towards the back. Okay, so I want some of the book page. So I'm just going to kind of space this out and just start building on my cover. So this one I will also let overlap. And you can go over, like this one, I need to go over the edge of that a little bit because this is going to stick to it. So I've got too much glue on my brush here. It's easier to prevent bubbles when you're doing the decoupaging if you don't put the glue on top until the bottom dries, but sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to if you're going to put something over the top of that piece. So I try to brush it down as best I can. And then let's try a piece of dictionary page. We're going to put that right here. And I already have glue here, but I do need to put a little bit on the edge of this old book page because we're going to put this on top of it and it needs to be able to stick to it. Okay. Now this is fairly easy, guys. I mean, I know y'all know how to Mod Podge. This piece, this is the pattern piece. I want it right here. And I don't know if I want it, I think I want it this way. So you don't always have to have it up, you know, your pages the right side up. You can have them, you can go sideways with them. You can go whatever direction you want to with them. So, and this one I'm going to pull up a little bit because it needs to be over the edge a little bit more on that. So I'm just going to swipe that down and make sure we've got a good hold up here. Okay. So then we have a little bit of a gap here, but that's okay. I'm gonna leave that for a second, and just kind of keep going with our Mod Podging. I think. Now see, this is what I do. I get piles all over my desk trying to do these. Let's see. I think I want more. Let's do. I try to just kind of spread out and make it a variety of pages on the covers. I mean, I don't want it to all be maps or all be dictionaries, or you know what I mean. So I just kind of spread them out as best I can. So, and you just basically piece it on there like a puzzle. And it doesn't have to fit perfectly because you're overlapping. Like I'm overlapping this map piece over this book page and over this dictionary page. And then I'm just going to smush him down. And every now and then you'll need to wipe off your card so that it doesn't smear glue all over the top of your piece. Sorry, I had to get a drink of coffee. Okay, so I think I want pattern paper down here. And I'm going to let this go out a little bit off the edge so that I'll be able to wrap it over. Okay. And the main reason I use these cards is because it makes sure that it kind of helps with the bubbles. You know, it kind of helps to not have as many problems with getting bubbles. So this one, I think I'm going to put here. So we're going to have to put a little bit on top of that pattern piece. And I want to make sure I have enough overlapping to fold it over. And sometimes I'll just go in and put some on the back side of a piece if I don't want to put a whole lot of glue on top of my previous piece. And then, now I have found that the coffee dyed paper tends to bubble a little faster than other papers. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your papers. I'm not really picky about bubbles. I kind of like the bubbles, but some people don't like them, so just keep that in mind if you don't want the bubbles. Okay, I'm going to tear a piece of this, whoops, dictionary page off. Well, that didn't tear very well, did it? And scoop this back up here out of the way. And then we're just going to start tearing us some pieces. I might take this piece like this. Maybe here. I don't like this big white piece though. We'll see. I'm just gonna swap some glue right here. And it's just basically eyeballing it and making it what you like it to be. Now in this case, I'm going to have to, the dictionary pages, I tend to go on the top of it with glue because they're so thin. I want to make sure it gets a good hold. But it's a personal preference, and it's, you know, I think every person Mod Podges differently. So it's whatever you want to do pretty much. Okay, and then I have this little, I don't know that I want that one on there, but I think I do want this one on here. But I want something right here underneath it, and maybe I want to just do a little piece of the dictionary page. So I'm just going to put this one down here. And I'm going to add a little glue underneath this because I don't have enough glue for it to stick to right there. Now see, I can already see a little bit of bubbles right here, but I'm okay with that. Alright, I think I kind of want this here. So we're going to go ahead and put some glue on the edge or the spine of the book so that it can lap over the spine. I want the ducks to be on the front though. Now this one it's a thinner of a paper too, so I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the front of it. And sometimes when you have, when you've got paper on the crease of your spine, I'll take my bone folder and just kind of go down very gently because you don't want to rip your paper, but just kind of push that down in there into the spine kind of gently. And then I'm going to take my little card here and try and smooth this out because I can already see it bubbling up. Okay. Now we need something down here and something here, and there's going to have to be a little bitty piece right here somewhere. But this paper, this kind of pattern paper is real thin and you can kind of see through it, but it's okay if you just have like little spots you need to cover like this right here. So I am going to go ahead and put this piece here so I don't forget that I have a hole that needs to be covered. Okay, and these always bubble. I don't think that you can get them to not bubble, and I like adding these because of the bubble effect. So, all right, let's see. I think I want a piece of map across the bottom here, and I think I want to rip the sides but not the very edge. I am so hot right now, and it's only like, I don't know, 40 something degrees outside, but it's really hot in my craft room this morning. But my son has a tendency to come in from work. He works at night, and so he'll come in and kick the heat up. Okay, yeah, I like that. All right. So, trying to decide which side I want this on. I kind of like this color better than this color. It's just a little bit darker, so I think we'll go with that. Alright, so we're just going to put us a good amount of Mod Podge on our book. And I'm going to go all the way to the back cover because this is a pretty long piece. Okay. So we're going to put him down about right here. And again, I want to kind of push this down into the spine of my book, being very careful not to rip my paper. But this map page is a little bit thicker of a paper than this was, so it's going to hold up to my card better than this wouldn't hold up to my card. It would rip through it. Okay. So just want to be patient with this and make sure it goes down good and gets a really good hold. Because you have these, like the little screws right here that hold in the binder. And that's what I'm trying to cover down here. So I just want to make sure it's good and flat around that screw. Oops, I've bubbled it up over here. And you just have to kind of play with it to make sure it fits well on your book, to make sure it lays flat, and to make sure it's going to hold well. Sometimes, if my paper is a little thicker, I'll go under and put glue on the underside, because that's going to soften the paper up enough to make it be a little more pliable for me to be able to do what I need to do. And see, now I can kind of push it down around that little screw. Just like that. Where are we on our time? So basically, this is what I do to Mod Podge the front. I just start picking and choosing pages. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and finish doing the Mod Podging on the front so that I can flip it over and show you what I do when I wrap to the other side. Okay, so once you have everything on your book, you want to let it dry, or you can dry it with a heat gun, or I use a hair dryer. I don't have a heat gun, so I use a hair dryer. So I think that's what I'm going to do now, is go ahead and dry it so I can show you how to turn your pages into the other side, which I'm sure you all know how to do this, but just, you know, just to be detailed, because I'm usually pretty detailed in my tutorials. So hang on a second. Okay, I've got it pretty much most of the way dry. There's still a little bit of tackiness to it, but it's okay. So now what I'm going to do is, you see how sometimes on the edges some of the pieces will come up, like right here. So I just go back and I take my brush and my glue, and I just make sure it's glued down really well, because once we do our edges, it's going to hold that down anyway, but I want to make sure that there's enough glue there. So, and then like right here, see if you can see that this little piece is not all the way glued down right there, so I'm just going to put some glue on that paper. Take my little gift card and rub it down, and then pull the excess glue off just so it doesn't stick when I turn it over. Alright, so now we're going to turn it over. Whoops, sometimes it sticks to your wax paper, but that's okay. So we're just going to turn it over, and you see how, whoops, all the edges are sticking out. So we're going to wrap those just like you do any other, when you do any other journal. So what I like to do, in order to soften up these pieces, because, whoops, we're dripping. I shouldn't have got that glue yet. In order to soften up the pieces, because once you put the glue on them and you dry it, they get a little more stiff. So what I do is I'll just take the glue from my brush and I put it directly on the paper. You see this right here? Let me see if you can see this. This is coming loose a little bit from the edge, and you want to make sure that your edges are good and secure. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue in there. I got way too much glue, so we're going to go back in there and swipe a little better. So I'm going to put some glue in there so that when I wrap this, I always put glue in any little creases that I see, so that when I wrap the paper around, it's got a good hold on the front and the back side. Okay. So now I'm just going to lay this flat. This book's a little bit harder because it's been folded together for many years, so it's kind of a little bit stiff as far as folding goes. Okay, so I'm just going to get those good and soggy, and then I'm going to lift it up off of my wax paper, And then I am just going to start taking my brush and wrapping this around. And if I have to hold it for a second with my hand, I will. But I just take it and I wrap it just like this. Because I want to make sure that it's good and tight. I don't want, you know, gaps between the paper and the book. So I'm just going to make sure I've got a good seal on the very edge of the book. Just like that. And then once I know my seal is good, I'm going to take my Mod Podge and I'm going to go back over the edge here, make sure it stays down really good and tight. Okay, and then, which I should have done this first, I should have mitered the edges, but that's okay. I can miter them now, and you'll kind of get an idea of. I'm going to pull this back open just for a second. Thank goodness I didn't get far enough to where I couldn't do it. So I'm just going to miter the edge, and that just means leaving a little, trimming off the corner so that it'll fold correctly for you. I'll show you what I mean. See how now you have that little fold on there? See if I can, I'm going to see if I can zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you dizzy. So now you have kind of that mitered edge, and then you can just pinch this onto the edge of that book corner. And then I'm going to take some more glue and do these pages, or these pieces up here. And you don't have to go all the way down, like you don't have to do them all at the same time. You can go back and do little bits at a time. So then I just kind of pinch this in right here just a little bit, and that way I want to pinch it in far enough to where when I fold it over, it doesn't gap over this side. Hopefully you guys can see that. So see, you get a good little line there. And it's not going to matter if it's crinkly or wrinkly or whatever, because you're going to put paper over this on the inside. So, okay. So I just do that all the way around. So I'm just going to keep going here. And you want to do this pretty quickly because you want to make sure that, you know, you don't want your paper pulling on the previous pieces that you've glued. Okay. And you can use your brush to do this. I use both. I'll do my brush and use my fingers. Whatever works for me at the moment is what I use pretty much. Now right here, I don't want this piece on my ring binder, so I'm just going to tear that around it right there. Which I guess it would be okay if you leave that. I just always take them off. Okay. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to miter. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to zoom back out. I apologize. I think I'm still half asleep this morning. I don't know. I just don't feel great today. Okay, so I'm going to miter the edge on this one. So I'm just going to leave a very little bit right here on the corner. I'm probably angling that too much. We'll see. Y'all know I'm not a measurer. I'm an eyeballer. I very rarely measure anything. Okay, so I'm going to make sure, see, my corner is good on this one, so it's not pulling apart, so we're good. So we're just going to go ahead and fold this one on in. Oh, good. I didn't do too much. I'm going to try and push that down underneath there. So we're just going all the way to the corner, just like that. I wind up getting glue all over my hands when I do this, but it's okay. It's what paper towels are for, or baby wipes, or whatever you want to use. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and miter this corner. And I should have went ahead and did that corner, but I didn't, so we'll play with it and we'll make it work. Alright, so I'm going to go down through here, put glue on my paper, and glue on my edges. You can do either or, you don't have to do both, but I'm a freak about glue. Okay, so see on this corner, it's pulling away a little bit, so I want to put some more glue down in there. And make sure I push that down real good so it gets a good seal on that corner. Okay, and then we're going to go this way. Okay, I need to push this in. Just fold it in just a little bit, just so that it doesn't go over the edge up here. Just like that. It's hard to do this and make sure you're staying in camera. And you're not going to have to worry about how bad it looks around the edges, because that's going to be covered with whatever you use to cover the inside of your journal cover. Okay, so now we're going to go here. Make sure you've got glue on every piece. And this one, I need to fold in just a little bit. I almost mitered it too much. Just like that. I'm sure there's lots better ways to do this. I'm sure that there are probably other people out there who are screaming at me going, oh my God, you're doing it the hard way. Alright, I'm just going to rip that so that I can keep going. Doesn't matter if you get glue on your binder, because I always go back and clean my binder anyway, this middle piece. Because I usually wind up with glue all over it once I do the outside and the inside covers of the journal. And then I have to get a baby wipe because my napkin already has glue all in it, and I'm not being able to wipe stuff off now with my hands. It's just kind of smearing it. So we get a baby wipe. That'll help us out. Okay, and then the one last little section. I'm gonna go ahead and fold this one over. And see, I didn't miter that corner, but I think it was small enough that you can't really tell that it's not mitered, so we should be good. Okay, and then I'm just going to try and rub any wrinkles out and make sure everything's sticking down really well. And then I'm going to go back over it with my brush and a little bit of glue to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to. So now we just let this dry, and then you can choose your inside sheets, you know, whatever you're going to cover on the inside, and you have your collaged ring binder cover. So there we go. I'm not going to do the inside cover because I haven't chosen those papers yet, and I kind of have to see the inside pages in my book first, so I usually leave that for last. I know that's probably backwards for most people. Most people do their cover first, but I always do my cover last. So, so I'm not ready to do that part yet. So, but anyways, this is the cover, the collaged ring binder cover. Now, let me see where we're at on time. You know, I said I was going to maybe put some pieces of this on here, but I always wait till the end to do that too. So, you'll see the final product. I'll probably do a flip through of this one. This is for a customer, so I'll work on it and try and finish it in the next few days or so, and then you'll probably see me do like a final flip through of it. So you'll see kind of what I did, and I'll try to remember to bring that to your attention to see what I did on the covers. So anyways, I hope this helped. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, or like the video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And I really appreciate you guys watching. Big hugs.